The problem is that, once again, most of the boats out here are actually unoccupied. And it is, once again, the first week of June now. Another observation is the east to west traffic corridor. This is the main branch of road that brings passengers from Toyapakeh to the next port of calls. And this traffic corridor is also fairly empty as well. I'm back in Sanur this week, and I'm going on a different mission from last week. Last episode we were in Nusa Penida, and today we're going to explore Nusa Penida. So Nusa Penida is just a little bit further off from the Nusa Penida, Nusa Penida cluster. But we're going to begin our voyage here in Sanur again, overlooking the harbor. Today happens to be actually a beautiful day. It's incredible. You can see the visibility, despite all the trash burning happening in Bali, is excellent. And you can see from coast to coast, all the way from Sanur to Kuta to Canggu to the furthest parts on the west coast, across the mountain and skyline and volcanic line, all the way up to Gunung Agung, and then back down the east coast, back to the port. Nusa Penida for a very long time was actually a frontier region developing faster than my home neighborhood in Uluwatu. The reason for that was, I'd like to think, that we implanted Airbnb culture in Nusa Penida back before COVID. This is around 2018, 2019. So my wife and I were expeditionary pioneers in teaching and managing local accommodations on Nusa Penida, and the main challenge at the time was to get an extension of the day trip culture to be overnight staying culture. A lot of people at the moment were going to Nusa Penida for just exploring the beaches and such, but surprisingly, Nusa Penida does have a unique problem, which is that it divides into an east and west half. So the east half has about half the attractions and the west half has half the attractions, which makes it ideally a multi-day itinerary, which is what any particular area that is looking to gain more tourism, growth in tourism should be looking for. Not just more visitors, but getting visitors to stay longer. A pretty important principle. So part of it was, of course, finding the supply, and we found willing Balinese landowners who were at the time getting excited about new roads being built throughout the island, but also about the possibility of turning their otherwise pretty average land into highly productive accommodations. And with the distribution platform like Airbnb on hand, and our very high quality skills at Buca Vista for determining the correct pricing and the correct marketing angle and dynamic pricing and content adjustment, we're able to quickly grow that marketplace, which resulted in the growth in Nusa Penida. But unfortunately, Nusa Penida lost its race against other regions in Bali. You can take a look at the stats here. So back in 2004, all areas Nusa Penida, Canggu, and Uluwatu were fairly at the same stage. But over time, you could see that Uluwatu rose a bit faster than the other regions. We entered Nusa Penida right around this point. You see, January 2018. That's when acceleration in Nusa Penida's popularity began to grow. We eventually reached a high point in August 2019, which was great. And after that, Nusa Penida and everything else fell. We'll talk about how it fell now. What happened over time was culture. And this culture happened during COVID. During COVID, many of the island inhabitants and the local government decided that they wanted to isolate themselves from the rest of Bali and from the rest of the world. So basically all transportation was cut off to Nusa Penida for 2 years, and it stalled. Well, the economic downturn happens because of this. In a competitive tourism economy, like in Southeast Asia, when your region starts earning fewer 5-star reviews than another region, well then you start getting pushed down in ranking as a region compared to other areas that are still earning 5-star reviews. So where did all the remaining reviews go during COVID? Well, they went in Canggu and they went to Uluwatu, because during COVID, those two areas still were open to some economic activity. And even though they were cheap, but they were still getting some business in, and so the blood was still pumping. So during the recovery phase after COVID, those areas grew to hyper growth after the end of the pandemic, and Nusa Penida just kind of stayed dormant. We're about to board the boat again that will take us to Nusa Penida. First arrival to Nusa Penida, and it looks actually pretty amazing. The water is clear and it has this far away feel to it. Let's see what it looks like from all corners. I found a perfect spot to fly the drones to overlook the harbor and also the volcanoes. The volcano is excellent today. You can really see the silhouette of the volcanoes against all the other mountains in Bali. Pretty astounding. So we're going to take the drone up in the sky and fly over the harbor and take a look at the tracks of the boats and observe what we can first see from this western port of Nusa Penida. One of the biggest risks that you can take with entering a competitive property market like in Bali is to not know the value of your own property or the value of your region. Bali Business solves this by giving free valuations to any property owner who is looking to start their journey, a data-driven, AI-enabled valuation that we provide for free. Sign up for yours today on our landing page and you'll start your pathway to investment success. The good news is the infrastructure for the port facility at Nusa Penida is good. There's a fairly robust port here at Toyapakeh with concrete landings and floating pontoon piers supported by steel trusses. I got my hands greasy touching one of these piers, but I wouldn't advise that. The waters here are fairly calm, and you can see there's more than enough capacity to park many boats. In addition, there is also a long stretch of coastline along the east-west corridor that allows for plentiful parking for day tripping, boats and excursions, and also passenger boats as well. And it seems like this island had experienced some sudden burst by the plentiful amount of boats that don't seem to be at hire at the moment. More interestingly enough, I found also the power generation story of Nusa Penida. Nusa Penida provides electricity to the other Nusas as well, Nusa Lembongan and Nusa Cheningan. They have a solar facility located on the east side, and this, in addition with also a diesel transmission system, generates power back to Nusa Lembongan and Nusa Cheningan as well. So we just took a look at some of the rooms over here at this hotel, and while it does have an excellent rooftop to fly a drone from, unfortunately, but the owner seems to be a little bit disconnected with pricing. He's charging $750 for a really basic room out here, and that's probably too much. He's probably worth $300 or $400 at most. And as a result, the entire hotel, all 20 rooms, are empty. If you don't dynamically price, then you're going to suffer the same thing as what's happening here. But I mean, if you are coming to Nusa Penida and you want to use the space to fly your drone and buy a drink, then I suppose this is a pretty good option. We're getting to Kelingking Beach right now, which is a major tourist attraction. It's a little bit crowded, as you can see. There's a line of people who are walking and hiking along the spine of the massive dinosaur T-Rex peninsula. It's probably the highlight and landmark feature for Nusa Penida In terms of tourism, Nusa Penida at this moment it's troublesome. And the troublesome matter relates to actually how we got here. As you can see, perhaps right here, on this road right here, the road, if you can actually take a notice of it, is, well, the road is very thin. There's not a lot of cover, and it's not very well made up, which explains why there are so many potholes and obstacles along the way. Those really take away from the enjoyment of the process of getting here. But more troubling is also the little traffic jams that occur because of the blockades. What happens frequently is that traffic from both sides need to stop and then slide over each other while they're looking for a passageway, because many of the roads are just too narrow. They're too narrow for somebody to actually get a really good passageway through. But I suppose all the distance and arrival to get here probably is worthwhile by the time you reach this. Wow, that's truly magnificent. We're on the main street here in Nusa Penida in Toyapakeh, which apparently means salty water. Toyapakeh is the entry point of the port, but it's also where the densest concentration of commercial and food and beverage establishments are also located. Let's go up and down the street and see what's happening tonight. It is a Saturday night, and I guess this will give us a good proxy indicator on how things are doing here. Holy Penida, it's completely empty. Vanya Penida, not a single customer here. Time divers, I see like 2 people in there, but I'm not sure what they would probably be doing at a dive center at night. Strange. Seems like there's a few customers in there chilling. Alco plus raw, that's empty. Lushy is a hostel. It is packed. Lots of motorbikes outside. Unlike in Nusa Lembongan, you do see gigantic piles of trash on the side of the road. A lot of trash, kind of everywhere. Trash burning, trash on the side of the road, trash piles. Smells like garbage. Mr. DIY, yes. All right, a knick-knack store and convenience store and home repair store. I'm pretty astounded that there's a Mr. DIY here, but I think it's because Nusa Penida actually has a serious port, so they're able to transport larger bulk goods like this to this island. Orca Beach Club, it is empty. There's like nobody really here, and just the security guard is asking me to come in. But La Coco, some people are eating here, but not really busy here. Look at these doggies. Hi dogs. Hi guys. Hi doggies. Oh wow, so many of them. Oh, unusual observation about the dogs in Nusa Penida is that they don't bark. They're very quiet. They have a culture of silence here. Nippy? COVID? I'm not sure, but really quiet. Street seafood, empty. Nora kitchen and bar, empty. Joglo Penida, doing okay, actually. Like about 2 dozen people there. KFC fried chicken, Express, there's like 2 people there. The acronym doesn't make sense. It says Express fried chicken, but it's a BFC. I think they got the B's and the E's mixed up. But Happy Cafe, not so happy looking. It looks kind of quiet actually. This is a Massimo Gelato place and it's empty. It's called Sugar Daddy. Why? Local taste, international price. What? I mean, local price, international taste. These streets are very, very empty. They're very, very quiet. This is what's unusual. Nusa Penida is several times larger than Nusa Lembongan and Nusa Ceningan. You can see it from my aerial photos right here. See? It's a much larger island. So then the question would be, it's so large, but yet it's so empty. Is it because there's more places that I haven't seen yet? Well, let's keep on going. maybe I missed something. Jalan Restaurant and Bar. Such a cozy looking space, but also so empty too. Space Cafe. Not a single person. Maybe those motorbikes over there, but I don't see anybody inside Space Cafe. Nusa Penida Cafe, part 1 and part 2. A decent crowd. Over here next to another mini market. I was remarking that not a lot of major brands are in Lombok and Nusa Lembongan, but here aside from the bank ATMs, there's no major brands at all. There's no major brands from the mainland for mini markets, for anything. There are all these like local weird rip-off brands. There's another one of those rip-off markets. It looks like kind of like Alpha Mart, but it says Sri Mart. Okay, a few more people walking, and I mean, look, the streets are so empty. You could basically walk down the street like in a pod like this in the middle of the street, and it's kind of okay. So, overall, where are the tourists in Nusa Penida? I'm flying up and down this beach. This beach is called, I'll put it in the subtitles, you'll see what the name of the beach is called. But the interesting observation, once again, is that there is, not all boats are the same. So some boats are passenger boats, and they're carrying passengers from the mainland of Bali out here to Nusa Penida. Some boats are clearly for diving and snorkeling trips. And some boats they look like modified fishing boats that are also for snorkeling and diving trips. The key insight here is the number of empty boats. The number of boats that don't seem to have any passengers at all. So, another observation is the east to west traffic corridor. This is the main branch of road. This traffic corridor is also fairly empty as well. 5 years ago, Nusa Penida was the darling of Bali. It seemed like it would be the frontier of Bali's next tourism boom. I recall seeing signs at the airport promoting Nusa Penida's Kelingking beach above all other landmark destinations in Bali. These days, walking, swimming, and flying through Nusa Penida, I'm not so sure that's going to happen. Perhaps the failure of Nusa Penida to actually become the next big Bali destination can serve as a warning to those regions that are not taking into account the most important factor for why location actually gains value. Location gains value simply because it is earning value. It is receiving 5-star reviews faster than another region. It is because the infrastructure is well built. The education system is well deployed, such that locals and visitors alike respect customs laws and keep nature and the tourism industry thriving. Once again, this is not a new lesson. This is a common theme here. We speak about the Bali Business Review. Hopefully it will sink in. And the rise and fall of Nusa Penida can serve as a reminder for those who are looking to gain long-term investment value here in Bali. This is Jane again with the Bali Business Review. Until then, keep on watching our next episode to see what happens next in Nusa Penida and other regions in Bali.